I, but from the far-off land of night. No one knows anything about my existence. You may already be a winner. All I need is your credit card information. No sell on that one. Great news for Beach Boys fans. We only have a couple weeks to go until the release of the Sail on Sailor 1972 box set. The multiple format release to chronicle 1972's Carl and the Passions So Tough and 1973's Holland. Available in multiple forms, of course, LP, CD, and digital. Should be a great set. We've had a few previews leaked already. This is the first of a two-part video. I thought today we'd just go through the studio session stuff. What have we heard already? What is brand new? What's really interesting? And a couple of things I'm completely confused and at a loss about. There'll be a follow-up to this on November 23rd where we'll talk about prices and pre-orders, and we'll go through all of the live content. So please, if you enjoyed this video, check back again next week for that follow-up. So we're going to use the 5 CD set as the basis for today's video, much like Feel Flows last year, having kind of multiple releases, different sizes and different formats, depending on what you wanted to collect. We'll use that 5 CD set as a basis for this review. So I'm going to get my list down here. The first CD will open with Carl and the Passions, their 1972 album. All 8 songs there. Even though there are only 8 songs, it is a longer album. All of the songs are relatively long, comparatively. After that, we have something called The Road Not Taken. That's talked about in Endless Summer Quarterly's fall issue. Al Jardine says that was a demo for the song All This Is That. He took the Robert Frost poem and set that to music. So that'll be interesting to hear. All This Is That a cappella, that has already been released as a preview track. Sounds pretty cool. You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone, track and backing vocals, and Marcella a cappella have both been released already. They were the last 2 tracks on Feel Flows. They're at the very, very bottom there. So those were intended as previews for this set last year. They both reappear here. So if you didn't buy the big Feel Flows, you still get to have those. Also of note on disc 1, Cuddle Up Alternate Mix. The lead single for Carl and the Passions was the first song, You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone. And it never caught on, didn't chart, was not particularly popular. Other than a few box sets here and there, it's pretty much forgotten. Cuddle Up, the last song, was the B-side. We've heard an alternate mix of Cuddle Up before. There's one included on Feel Flows, an instrumental mix with the title Old Movie. However, the original B-side was an alternate mix of Cuddle Up. So You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone, and then Cuddle Up as the B-side. Had a slightly different vocal arrangement, some different string arrangements. That has not been released since the original single, so it wouldn't surprise me if that was what was going to be released here, even though it says it's previously unreleased. Something that hasn't been widely available since 1972, you could safely say that that's a new release. And one more thing of interest on CD1, we can't cover everything of course, so I narrowed it down to what I thought was important. Carl and the Passions was not originally just a single record like you see here. It was part of the double albums. All of the late 60s albums for the Beach Boys were re-released or released in the 70s as 2 record sets. Here's Wild Honey and 2020. Friends and Smiley Smile were paired as well. Carl and the Passions was paired with a reissue of Pet Sounds. You got an old Beach Boys album, and you got the new Beach Boys album. The advertisement is included here. There's no studio material from Pet Sounds, but the really cringy radio ad with, wow, a new song by the Beach Boys. My beard is growing out. It's a very strange, like, stream of conscious, avant-garde advertisement. It's really funny, though. I'm glad it's here, even though it probably wouldn't have sold too many copies, I don't think. That does it for the highlights of CD1. There are some other alternate mixes and things in there too. CD2, of course, is Holland in its entirety. Holland is one of their most loved albums, and quite rightfully so. So we get all of Holland, including the magical musical fairy tale. If you wondered what my phony baloney was about at the beginning of this video, making fun of the Pied Piper from the Mount Vernon and Fairway musical fairy tale, I went on record in my video, a quick one, about the Beach Boys EPs and said that is my least favorite part of Holland. I consider it part of the album because every release of Holland has included it that I'm aware of. Cassettes, 8 tracks, digital downloads, all that stuff. But they're both here now. The website claims that this hasn't been released on vinyl since the early 70s. It's not entirely true. There was a vinyl reissue in 2017, but Holland had 2 LPs, 2 large records. They took the entire Mount Vernon and Fairway EP, both sides, and condensed it onto one side of one 12-inch record. So it has had a vinyl release, but not in like this original form, and this packaging is even being reproduced. So a little bit different. We'll get back to the Mount Vernon Fairway stuff a little later on. There are some bonus tracks from Holland that are of great interest. We Got Love finally gets a wide release. We Got Love, kind of strange. It was only released on the In Concert album in 1973. The studio version was mostly withheld. There are a few exceptions. Early European copies, like from Germany and I think maybe a couple other kind of mid-European countries, included it. iTunes or Apple Music in 2015 included it as a bonus track when the Holland download. And that record reissue I told you about from 2017, that includes it as a bonus too. But that's pretty esoteric. If you didn't have one of those 3 things, you still didn't have We Got Love, legitimately. Now we finally have it included here with Holland, as it should be. I really like We Got Love. Even though it's about apartheid, it can be applied to any instance where discrimination, prevents people from realizing their full potential. That kind of thing could be applied to race or religion or sexual orientation or anything like that. So it's nice to finally have it here in a wide release on every format. Hard Time, a Blondie and Ricky song. It's really groovy. You can hear bootlegs of that on YouTube. Carry Me Home just got released as a preview a couple weeks ago. Great song, very melancholy, but definitely worth listening to. Part of Holland is what's called the California Saga. Big Sur, The Beaks of Eagles, and California. Kind of 3 separate songs that make up one big movement. And now we get the single version of Beaks of Eagles, which was never released. Earlier we mentioned putting poetry to music. That's their epic Robinson Jeffers poem, An Eagle's Nest Upon One of the Precipice-Footed Ridges Above Ventana Creek. That sort of thing now gets released as in a different mix, like a single mix, which I didn't even know existed. And something that I'm really glad to see, something that's bothered me for many, many years, California Saga is probably the most famous, the third part I should say, the California Saga, California, is probably the most famous song on Holland next to Sail on Sailor. It was a fairly successful single, very successful in the UK. It's been in the Beach Boys live sets on a lot of collections. When it was released as a single in 1973, it got a new mix, additional vocals from Brian, different backing arrangement, and it got a subtitle. I'll see if you can see it on this CD or not. The subtitle, On My Way to Sunny California. And that was to kind of differentiate it from the album version, which is a little bit different. They're mostly the same, but not quite. Other releases that came later, like The Warmth of the Sun in 2007, like Made in California, or the 3 CD from last summer, include that subtitle, but they use the wrong mix. This is a chance for me to be really pedantic, because it's always bothered me. Don't use that subtitle if it's not the single version. Finally, we get one that's going to be the single version. You can only get the single on either the 10 Years of Harmony vinyl, or this Best of the Brother Years Part 3, I should say Good Vibrations Part 3, Best of the Brother Years release. So finally we get to have it here. I'm so glad of that. I really like the punchiness of the single. And something we have heard before on Hawthorne, California, Sail on Sailor backing track. So the instrumental is the newest track on here. It does have some of the vocals, but not all of them at the end of the song. That's not uncommon in Beach Boys instrumental releases, but a new mix here, that'll be fun. Discs 3 and 4 are the live stuff. We're going to talk about that at the Carnegie Hall show next week. To celebrate the 50th anniversary of the concert, I'll upload the second part of this video on November 23rd. So just sit tight on all the live stuff for now. We have heard some songs from that, those live performances, I should say, there are 2 of them, those live performances before, and we'll go through that next week. Then we come to disc 5, the 1972 sessions. It's a very mixed bag with a little bit of everything. Some songs aren't really addressed, like Big Sur or Leavin' This Town. Others, like You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone, get a ton of stuff. There's no real balance. I'm sure they had some system to work it out. Turn the page. A few things that stuck out to me. There are a couple backing tracks I'm really excited to get. California Saga's backing track and Funky Pretty's backing track, which should be pretty cool too. I'm very excited for those. Alternate mix of Only With You. Sail on Sailor gets a few things here. It gets, of course, acapellas to go with the backing track. It also gets something that fans are very excited for, a songwriting session. And there's been rumors for years that there are alternate versions with different members of the group singing lead. From what I've gathered from, I think it's Record Collector's Review, they got like an advanced copy. This is more just Brian Wilson figuring out the words and the melody. It's not really like a finished version, but that'll be pretty cool to hear him kind of working this song out. Out in the Country is included with 2 alternate takes. That's been bootlegged quite a bit. Really pretty, like country ballad. Kind of has like a cross between Friends and Dennis Wilson stuff. Be pretty neat. Then there are some instrumentals, some of which I've heard of before, like Rooftop Harry. That name's been kicked around for a while. Others, like Body Talk, have only recently been confirmed to be instrumentals. The one that stands out, though, is Spark in the Dark. The song Funky Pretty from Holland uses that in the lyrics. Where's my spark in the dark? So I'm thinking that'll be maybe a cool early instrumental version. That'd be really fun. And we come to CD 6, live bonus tracks. We'll lump those in with the ones in next week's video. Then we have Mount Vernon and Fairway sessions. So we're back to the magical musical fairy tale. So I said before in my video on the EPs, a quick one, I'm not a fan of this because it wasn't finished and they tried to cobble it together into a story. You can't make a narrative out of something that really wasn't even done yet. And indeed, the narrative aspects of the story, just when it gets going, it literally ends. So, I'm not a fan. But I like the music. And someone else years ago had the same idea, and on the 4th disc of the 30th anniversary box set, the Good Vibrations box set, there's a track called Fairy Tale Music. That's just the instrumental and the Beach Boys vocals. All of Jack Riley's narrations. The transistor radio started glowing bright green. All those are completely removed, and that was retitled as Fairy Tale Music. That's included here in a new mix. That'll be cool. And then like some instrumentals and different takes and stuff, but one that did stand out, Mount Vernon and Fairway / A Casual Look. Originally, the magical radio in the story was to play classic rock songs, and now we finally get a mix that has the song A Casual Look mixed in there. Maybe that's a teaser for an upcoming 15 Big Ones box set. Rock and Roll Music 2026, the 15 Big Ones sessions. I'm calling it now. But yeah, that'd be kind of neat to hear that mixed with a classic song. There's a few bonus tracks that are listed as Holland home recordings. One that really stands out is Susie Cincinnati. That was pushed very heavily on Feel Flows. A lot of different versions of that song. So we get another one here. I'm guessing this will be like a stripped down, kind of lighter version, which I think will be kind of neat. And then one that might have been ID'd, they released a promo cartoon on the Beach Boys YouTube channel not too long ago, and that promo cartoon had a small snippet of a song that no one could positively ID, kind of in the middle, but the idea right now is that it's Gimme Some Lovin' / I Need Your Love medley. So we'll find that out for sure, but that sounds like it could be fun. Wrapping things up, the California Saga Trilogy, and I don't know what this is, because remember, they're 3 separate songs, Big Sur, Beaks of Eagles, and California, that are intended to be kind of a complete movement, but they can also function as individual songs. Part of me thinks they're going to do what was done with reissues of Abbey Road, where they took the Abbey Road medley and just kind of smashed it all into one big song, where it's like 16 minutes long and there are no cuts or breaks. It's straight from, You Never Give Me Your Money all the way to the end with nothing, just straight through. And I thought they might do that with this. It's like one big 10-minute song. But even though it says California Saga Trilogy, all the songs are still listed separately, and the Beaks of Eagles says it's a new edit. I don't know if it's going to be that, or we can get alternate takes of these, like use the older version of Big Sur from this, and maybe the single of California Saga and make like an alternate universe kind of thing. I don't know. I am hoping we'll get a version of the Beaks of Eagles where you can actually understand what the backing vocals are saying, because even the official Holland lyrics don't tell you, and it's always bothered me. And we have Carry Me Home instrumental, and All This Is That a cappella, but with different lyrics. So pretty cool. Join me next Wednesday on November the 23rd. We'll talk about the Beach Boys Carnegie Hall concert. I know this is not the Carnegie Hall concert. This is just another live document from the time that we're going to talk about. And we'll go over some of the prices and some of the buying options, and I'll tell you what I've ordered, and you can share with me what you've ordered. So please, in the comments below, tell me what you're really excited for on this release, and which of these tracks that I've talked about you remember hearing, and now we'll get to hear in a new context. And don't forget, lots of other Beach Boys content and some other random stuff on this channel. Always love you to drop by and comment and like. And until next time, my friends, let's go sail on, sailors. Thank you so much. We'll see you later.